We are witnessing a massive shift. Tech giants are racing for ultimate control. Beyond the hype lies the real turning point. This is where the future is being written.
Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. I want you to think for a second about the massive, truly global stakes of modern software code. We're talking about everything from your banking app to the hospital right down the street to the literal power grid that keeps your lights on. It all runs on code, millions upon millions of lines of it. And right now, the way we protect all that code is undergoing a fundamental, earth-shattering shift. So today, we're diving into exactly what that shift looks like and how it's going to fundamentally alter the internet as we know it. Let's get right into it. You see, for decades, cybersecurity has essentially been a human problem. And while human experts are absolutely brilliant, here's the reality we're facing today. There are simply too few of them. They're incredibly expensive to hire, and quite frankly, human eyes are just way too slow when you compare it to the millions of lines of code being churned out and updated around the clock.
Section 1. The human cybersecurity problem. Let's look at this core bottleneck. So, software developers face this core dilemma every single day. It's called the search space problem. Basically, we're dealing with a massive scale mismatch. We are talking about projects with millions of interacting lines of code. And vulnerabilities? Well, they don't exactly sit right out in the open waving a red flag. They hide deep, deep down in complex combinations of conditions. Finding them is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Except imagine that haystack is the size of a city, and it is constantly growing. It's gotten to the point where it's practically impossible for human researchers to manually inspect every single execution path to find these hidden flaws. Humans just cannot scale to meet the sheer size of modern software.
Which brings us to Section 2. Meet Gemini 3.5 Flash Cyber, a completely new approach to this dilemma.
Let's introduce Google DeepMind's Gemini 3.5 Flash Cyber, which just dropped on July 21st. Now, I really want to emphasize this. This is not the chatbot AI you're used to. You know, the one you use to summarize a PDF or write a polite email. No, this is agentic AI. It's built for a highly specific, incredibly technical mission. Look, a chatbot answers questions and creates content, but an agentic AI, it doesn't just talk, it actively hunts. It finds vulnerabilities, it mathematically validates them, and get this, it actually writes the code to patch them. It's a profound paradigm shift. The chatbot is becoming an agent. Gemini 3.5 Flash, Cyber, isn't just sitting around waiting for you to type a prompt. Google specifically designed it to be lightweight and efficient enough so it can continuously test, explore different execution paths, and actively investigate weaknesses right inside security workflows. It is an active, relentless participant, not just a passive tool.
Section 3. The 55 Vulnerability Benchmark. Let's see what happens when we put this agent to the test.
To actually prove this capability, Google ran some intense testing on the V8 JavaScript engine. If you aren't familiar, V8 is a massive, incredibly complex piece of open-source technology. And the result of that test? 55. Let that sink in, because in the cybersecurity world, that number is staggering. Gemini 3.5 Flash Cyber didn't just find a couple of minor bugs. It successfully identified 55 unique, confirmed security issues within that codebase.
And when you stack this up against the rest of the field and Google's reported evaluations, the difference is pretty stark. As you can see, Gemini 3.5 Flash Cyber found 55. The standard mainline Gemini 3.5 Flash found 47, and Claude Opus 4.6 found 36. But here is the truly remarkable part. 10 of those 55 vulnerabilities discovered by the Cyber model were completely missed by the other models tested. It literally saw what the others couldn't.
But wait, we aren't just talking about some isolated lab experiment here. Through a system called CodeMender, this specialized AI is already deployed in the real world. We're talking Chrome, Android, Google Cloud, Google Ads, and YouTube. It is operating behind the scenes right now, actively securing the apps and services that you and billions of other people use every single day.
And what makes this an absolute game changer is that the AI didn't just point out theoretical flaws. The system actively uncovered severe remote code execution and memory corruption vulnerabilities right there in actual production environments. And here's the kicker. It then generated a reliable proof-of-concept exploit that successfully bypassed standard mitigations. Basically, it didn't just say, hey, there's a problem here. It proved exactly how a hacker could break in.
All right, Section 4, the automation economics. Because this changes everything. We really need to shift our focus from just the technical achievement, as cool as it is, to the massive economic disruption this creates. The true revolution here is how this alters the speed of security by building a totally continuous workflow. Think about it. In the past, human teams had to manually scan, test, and write patches. It took forever. Now, a developer builds the code, the AI scans, tests, and proposes a patch, and a human just hits approve. We are literally watching AI compress months of intense human labor into mere hours.
But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Section 5. The AI security paradox. The dual-use dilemma.
This brings us to a very, very serious complication. The defender's advantage could easily flip and become the attacker's advantage. Look, this technology is incredibly impressive, but it is also exceptionally dangerous. Think about the mirror image here. If defenders can use AI to continuously scan, test, and find vulnerabilities at lightning speed, well, attackers are inevitably going to use the exact same tech to automate their exploits. The cost and effort required to launch a devastating cyber attack could absolutely plummet.
And because of that exact risk, Google's rollout strategy is incredibly cautious. They are treating this exactly like the dual-use weapon it has the potential to be. Right now, access to Gemini 3.5 Cyber is strictly limited to governments and trusted partners only. The whole goal is to carefully control this tech so it doesn't just turn into an autonomous hacking machine for bad actors.
So, we're looking at an absolute policy nightmare here. Just consider this for a second. Who gets notified first when an AI finds a critical vulnerability? If a machine suddenly uncovers a massive, system-breaking flaw in, say, a global banking system before any human even knows about it, who holds that secret? Is it the AI company? The government? What if a rogue employee happens to glance at the AI's log? It's a mess.
This also introduces the terrifying threat of an autonomous AI arms race. What happens if two AI systems, one run by a trusted defender and one run by a hostile attacker, independently discover the exact same vulnerability at the exact same moment? We're talking about pitting AI against AI on a global scale, racing at literal computing speed.
And that leads us to the ultimate risk. What happens if an AI-generated exploit is created and deployed before an AI-generated patch can even be proposed or approved by a human? I mean, think about the threat to our healthcare systems, our power grids, our global supply chains if offensive AI simply scales faster and acts quicker than defensive AI can keep up.
Which brings us to the defining question of the next decade. And it's one I really want to leave hanging with you today. Will AI secure the internet faster than AI can break it? We've just seen proof that the defensive side of this race is rapidly accelerating, right? But for sure, the offensive side won't be far behind. So does this new era of agentic AI make our digital world safer or infinitely more dangerous? I'll leave you to think about that one. Thanks for joining me for today's explainer, and I'll catch you next time.